welcome back to the Stock PC channel. Today we're going to be doing a kind of a budget build kind of idea here with a couple different graphics card options, really a couple different CPU options as well. But today we're going to focus on like the $500 range build. $500 range is just kind of a common range for pricing for kind of thinking the difference of like, should I go console or should I go PC building. So if you're looking on the used market, this is a very common place. You can find a lot of these parts at a very sort of something that's kind of common that I've seen a lot of people still having. It's kind of an older CPU at this point, but people still have it, and they're still at a point now where they're thinking, do I upgrade this CPU? Do I sell my old one? How should I get for it? Or when you're building a new system, is this still a decent CPU? For $80 roughly, or $70, you can find on eBay a lot of times too, is the 3700X by Ryzen 7 3700X. Kind of older at this point, but it still performs pretty well for a lot of lower end games and a lot of budget builds. For graphics cards, if you're looking to stay around the $500 range, a good option would be the 3060 12 gigabytes of VRAM. In a gaming world now where 12 gigabytes is now becoming kind of the lowest you really want to be. You don't really want to do 8 gigs anymore. But if you're doing a lot of like competitive titles, esports kind of titles, Valorant, CS:GO, things of that nature, maybe you might want to go down to 8 gigabytes of VRAM because you don't need a lot of VRAM, but you want more FPS, so you look at more like 3070. You can get 3070s, 3070 Ti's for roughly around $300. So that adds about $100 to this build because you can get 3060s for about $200 used, generally $220. Brand new, you can get them for like $230. You can for like $280, $300. But at that price, if you can find a 6700 XT or 6750 XT, I'd probably go more that route, lean that route. But 3060 for $200 is definitely good for VRAM usage. You're not going to be using ray tracing this low unless you have to use path tracing for games. They're requiring that. We're going to go with 32 gigabytes of Corsair. These are just been LPX RAM. It doesn't really matter what. 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, just because 32 gigabytes is now becoming kind of what 16 was, but it's sufficient enough. 16 gigabytes at this low of performance you probably could get away with. So if you can find a cheap kit for like 10-15 bucks, go with this. The 32 gigabyte kits are about $40 for used, $50 to $60 almost for new, depending on the range you're going with. But you always gotta check, check different Amazon, Newegg. If you're in the used market, Facebook Marketplace, if you're willing to meet someone in person, or eBay if you're willing to take the gamble. We're gonna be going that with a B550 from ROG. So it's an Asus ROG B550. This is a non-Wi-Fi version, so you might have to look around for a Wi-Fi used Wi-Fi motherboard. Doesn't really matter as long as you have a good enough heatsink or VRAM or good enough heat stage, good enough power delivery, get everything on your motherboard. You want to look for a reinforced PCIe slot. And then we're going to use for that with a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. This is the 970 Evo. Gen 4, whatever you want. As far as you pay about $60 to buy a brand new drive. About $60 for 1 terabyte, $65 ish, somewhere in there. Then it comes to CPU cooling, which probably kind of is out of order, but that's fine. CPU cooling, you can go with a couple different options. You can go with the Cooler Master Hyper 212, the Thermaltake Purus Assassin. If you want to go air cooled, you can pick these up for $35, somewhere in there, depending on which variation you get. This is an older Cooler Master Hyper 212, but it works. All it's got to do is pass air through it and then cool your CPU. Or you can go what we're going to actually do, and that is go with an AIO. That's because it came with the system. We bought this. Well, how we got the system was we upgraded my brother's PC for the holidays. So I took his old PC and we're going to rebuild it, basically clean it up, get everything nice and new, refreshed, and then to do some testing on it. So then we're going to look at power supply. Power supply, there's a bunch of different options when it comes to power supplies. for these kind of builds. You can do a super cheap one like the MSI mag, whatever size, 600 watts, 650 watt, whichever one you can find for around $50 to $60. Power spec at Micro Center has a lot of cheaper options too. This one came with the build, obviously. So this is a Thermaltake 700 watt smart. 700 watt. I think it's like not even it's an 80 plus. It doesn't have like a name on it, but it'll work really fine. I think it's like C-tier rated. So if you're gonna look at PSU Cultures list, that maybe where you would look to see quality wise what you should get. I would definitely, for budget builds, I'm definitely looking at the C-tier rating for a lot of the cheaper options. For high-end builds, I would look definitely in the A-tier. I would not risk anything, especially when you're using high-end hardware. It costs a lot of money, you know. But if you're trying to do everything price performance, trying to get the most bang for your buck, used market is obviously a good option. This is going to be, you know, a pretty solid build for people who are thinking, you know, 1080p gaming, some 1440p gaming with some decent quality settings and some close to console performance levels in a lot of titles. So we're gonna start doing a build, and we'll do like an up close, step-by-step build, and then we'll put it together, and then probably do a part 2 video where we do some benchmarking because I want to do a lot of testing when it comes to 3700X to see kind of what future path you could use GPU wise that wouldn't bottleneck the 3700X. If it's something where it's like, you know, could it hold a 3080 Ti? Could you go 4070? Could you go 4080? You know, level 3700X? We'll find that out, you know, using a few different games and different benchmarks, but we'll do that in another video. So let's do an in-depth guide on how to build this PC. All right, generally the first thing I do when it comes to building a PC is I put my CPU in first, whether you're on AM4, AM5, or Intel. Your CPU going the right orientation. On AM5, it'd be going this way with the ryzen facing that way. With a little, it'll use a little arrow right here that points what direction. For AM4, you go this way. Set it into the socket. Make sure it falls all the way in. Make sure it seats properly. Lower this little tab down. Make sure it's all the way in. Make sure it's flat. Good enough. All right, next thing I do is I put my RAM in. Our Vengeance RPG, our Vengeance RAM. Make sure your put it in whatever slot it says to put it in. Usually it's 2 and 4 for both for DDR4 and DDR5 RAM. DDR4 is easier to put in than DDR5, but still put it in and just make sure it clicks. Make sure it clicks like so. Set your thing up to the side. Okay. Next, I usually put in my drive. You can do this in whatever order. I usually just build everything on the motherboard that can be on the motherboard beforehand. So pull up the cover. Pull up the NVMe cover, SSD cover. Remove the cover. Sometimes, you know, this heatsink on the bottom, there's this little sticky thing. Sometimes it'll have the cover still on it, the little plastic wrap, just pull it off whenever you put the NVMe in. Go ahead and put your NVMe in. It goes one way with this little tab, with this little slit facing the part that has a little slit on the motherboard. You hold your M.2 down, put it in the screw hole, screw it in. Try to go over tight, just tighten it until it's tight. Put your heatsink cover back on. Make sure it goes the right way. Some of them only go one way, some of them you can go both ways with it. Public of gamers facing upwards. Line up with these little screw holes that it came out of. Tighten it till it's tight. You don't have to really tighten on it. You know, just kind of make it till it's snug. Perfectly fine. All right. Now, if we're gonna do air cooling, I would actually put my cooler on right now. Stick it on. Make sure your brackets are on there for your platform. But since we're doing water cooled, I'll actually put it in after. The only thing we have to make sure though is we put our bracket on first. So we're gonna stick our bracket through the back side of the motherboard. See these 4 holes? We're gonna stick it in. Make sure it's the right orientation. hold it from the back side, or you can set it on the table. Generally it'll work the same way. And then you take your adapter screws. These ones look like this. You screw them in. And that'll hold that bracket in place while you're trying to put the motherboard in. There's some cases, some PC cases where you can actually put the bracket in after. It'll have a cutout on the back side for the cooler. But for me, I just prefer to put it in now. I have more room, not fighting with the case being in your way or anything like that. I try to put as much stuff on the motherboard as I can. That's why if I was going air cooled, I'd actually put the air cooler on and get everything set up beforehand. But since we're not doing that, we're not worried about it. This is just an NZXT case. I know NZXT kind of catching a little flack lately for your practices when it comes to, you know, their flex program and stuff like that. But this case is older. It was used, so I guess in that sense, NZXT is not making any more money on this PC case. They already made their first initial money. So this is the case we're going to use. I don't even know what case it is. It's just some NZXT case. It does not have a open front panel. It's a solid front panel, which isn't good for airflow, but it'll function for a low wattage build like now. So we're going to stick our case down. We're actually going to build it upside down so you guys can see hopefully what's going on. So I'm going to build it upside down for me, for right side up for you guys. Our motherboard, CPU, and everything else. Stick it into the hole. Make sure you don't pinch any of your wires at the bottom of the case, anything like that. Or at the top of the case, anything like that. If you have any wires in there, slide your case in there. Normally I would actually take this exhaust fan out, if you can see it. Take the exhaust fan out, makes it easier. But you want to line up the back side of your case with your I/O hole, the hole for the I/O. Make sure it all lines up. Make sure these holes in the bottom line up with the holes. Proper holes, make sure they all line up with the standoffs. Some motherboards have separate I/O shields, so make sure you put this in before you put the motherboard in, into this little cover in the back. And then you're just going to put the 9 screws in for an NVXT's case. You have 8 because they put a little lineup hole right there. So back to my little story time. Okay, so last weekend, or a couple days ago actually, I went to Vegas. I ended up building a PC. I took some parts with me on a plane, but I didn't take a case with me. I didn't take a case, a power supply, a cooler, or anything like that. So I had to go to what they have out there, which was Best Buy, the only place they have out there, like retailer that sells PC parts, and I had to buy a case, and the only really case they had in stock was the NZXT H5 Flow. So I was gonna say earlier, I said I've never bought new NZXT parts, but that is the one thing I ever bought that was brand new or at all from NZXT. Now that's like none of my other builds have been NZXT type of things. So none of my other PCs have been NZXT. But I'm sure that other brands I've bought from have had some, you know, practice problems, you know, what they do, you know, some bad potential, you know, warranty problems or etc. You know, like this motherboard we're using right now. I've never bought brand new these things. Actually, I have. I've bought these motherboards before. So it's like, no matter what, eventually, if you keep buying PC parts, eventually you will run into the brands that just kind of have to, you know, have bad practices. Just kind of happens, you know. Eventually, you'll just come across deals and stuff that you can't pass up sometimes. Thing, you can kind of do this however you want. What I generally prefer to do is do the front panel connectors. So what we'll do is we'll do like their audio or USB and everything else we're going to use. I don't know if you can see anything, hopefully you can. So we're going to feed this to the bottom. This is our HD audio, which generally is on the left side of your motherboard. We're looking at it from your guys' angle. So we're just going to shove that through the hole. That through, we have our front panel connector. And we have our... Oh, they didn't use this last time. Oh, okay. I guess you don't need it, but yeah. There's are USB connectors? We don't have them. Oh wait, thing. So each connector has its own little thing. HD audio, which plugs into the HD audio part, which is right here on this motherboard, the bottom left hand side. Generally, that's where it's located. The bottom of the motherboard will say, make sure that the HD audio part, make sure it's facing the HD audio written part, facing toward the top of the case. Your front panel connectors, this one on this motherboard is right here to the side. Some of them are down here. Make sure you find the right one. Only goes one way. Then you have your front panel connector. This is a proprietary one. It's already connected. Some of them, they come each individual pin. Just make sure you find your right front panel connector. You just say the pin out and everything else, so make sure you put it in the right spot. This motherboard's a second slide over. Make sure you plug it in all the way. And then you're good to go. And this is go here, this little panel connector. Some PC cases have this, some of them don't. Generally these go into somewhere on the motherboard. If this doesn't have one, we won't use it, but usually they have one. I don't think this has one in the right spot to open. So they didn't use it previously, so I don't want to use it now. But yeah, this is for newer motherboards, I think. So some motherboards have this option. So make sure you plug it in if you have it. If you don't have it, you don't need it, etc. Not a big deal. All right, so next you can do kind of whatever you want. You can put your GPU in. You can put your fans in. We're actually gonna do the AIO next because it has a lot of wires on this current AIO that we're gonna use. So we're gonna stick the AIO in. That's what we used to do next. First with the AIO, we're gonna actually stick the fan connectors through. We're gonna stick them through the top hole and the bottom hole. Slide it in. Make sure you try not to slam the side of the pump down too much. Just kind of set it in there. Don't move it too much. Preferably. We're going to actually put the case up a little bit to pull our wires through all the way. Make sure you're not pinching any wires. Alright, you stick this in the hole. Make sure it fits down the hole. Then you're going to screw the front panel in. Once you put this in, see the paint about the the pain in the butt to put this thing so much. Put this freaking it's gonna go down all the way and just sit. Why is it not going down all the way? I like that. Oh, it wasn't. I hate this NZFT freaking thing in the front. So stupid. So NXT front panel thing is stupid. Screws up. Make sure it's in all the way. Let's call it crooked. Alright, make sure to put your front panel in. Take your CPU core. Alright, got this all in. Let's pan the butt button sometimes. Make sure to put your thermal paste in. We're just going to use Cooler Master thermal paste just because we have it here. You can use whatever one you want. You can do the P-dot method. This is like empty. P-dot method, that's plenty right there. You don't need a lot. You do the P-dot method, you can use the spreader method, you can use the X method, whatever method you want. You can do whatever you want. Make sure we're going to put our wires facing topwards. This does spin, so we can rotate it wherever we want it. But we're going to put our wires facing the top because our fan headers are on the top. We're going to stick this in. Since it's already used, we can already kind of line up the holes that it already has. And then we're going to grab our hold downs, which I believe are these. Each of these little pins right here. Those circular things. Out. Don't that do, we just keep dropping it in. That design is saying to have very good room. Probably for your screw down. Then when you go to tighten them, you're going to tighten them kind of like a crossway. So you're going to start with this one, or whichever one you want to start with. Some of them are labeled. Start with there, make it snug. Start with here. Get it snugged. Go here, get it snugged. Go there, get it snugged. Just kind of go around snugging them up the best you can. Just go so they're tight. You don't have to over tighten them. You don't have to make them crazy. Kind of go tight. All right. Now when it comes to the connectors on this particular IO, this has a lot more connectors than normal. So this has a proprietary thing here, NZXT proprietary thing, some SATA power, and the fan header for CPU. So first we're going to focus on the CPU part, the AIO pump. Generally at the top, it'll say on here, it'll say CPU fan, CPU output, whichever one you want to put on there. So we're going to put CPU fan because it's the AIO. We're going to use the CPU fan one. There we go. And then this has a USB as well. It doesn't say USB, but that's what this is. So we're going to go ahead and switch it to the bottom. We're going to stick that to the back side of the motherboard. And we'll plug everything in the future whenever we get to the back side of the case. Alright, so then we're going to plug in this other fan to a fan header. So we're gonna talk about more fan stuff later. I have splitters somewhere, I think. Alright, so basically we're at the point now where I just have to finish up wiring. So let's finish up our wiring. Alright, so we got the safe drive in here. You take this out, we're not gonna use it anyway. If you want to use safe drives, you can power them up. Alright, so the USB connector, we have to plug it in to the bottom of the motherboard. So we're gonna stick it in here. Stick it in this bottom. Can't really see anything, can you? Oh, you can kind of see now. Whoa, don't go crazy now. Don't lose you now. Alright, so the USB connector, we're gonna put it down here. SATA power is we're going to run it to the top side of the case. And run it along the side of the case so we can plug it into our power supply. And for the other connector, we're going to plug it in here. I think this goes all down stuff. I think there's a hub. Figure it out in the future where this goes. Put this on the bottom because I think it goes down there as well. Okay, so cable management, we can do a couple different things when it comes to cable management. We can put it in this little cover here. Comes with cable management, we can put it in this cover here. We can use the little side panels right here to cover them in. So that's what we'll do on this side. Probably put all this stuff down this side of the case. Tie it in here, and crease it. These fan headers we'll put down here. And these will just keep kind of tied up in here. And then we'll run the power supply there. We'll be good to go. Now we're gonna plug in our fans. We're gonna plug in our fans. We have a fan splitter somewhere. I just don't know where to put it, to be honest. So when I use a fan splitter, I always like on this one. We're gonna use it the old-fashioned way if you don't have a fan splitter. So we're gonna stand this up. Put this in here. We're gonna stick this up in here because I think it's nice for there. I think so. I hope so. Right. We're gonna go the old-fashioned way, fan splitter style, or just fan header style. Okay, so you're looking for on your motherboard. You're looking for fan headers. There's gonna be a bunch of them, generally. Whoopsie. Right, so now we're looking for fan headers. We're looking for fan headers. Why does it look blurry now? Oh, the light's all blurry now. Well, sorry about the lighting. Not the best lighter in the world. Not the best person in the world for this. Alright, so now we're looking for fan headers. Sorry for being blurry. I don't know why it's so blurry. Alright, so we're looking for fan headers. So we're going to have some in the bottom here. We have one right here. And we're going to have one right there. So we have two fan headers at the bottom. So we're going to plug them both in. Down there. These little, if you can see it hopefully, these little tabs on the top side will go with the little tabs on the bottom side of the connector as well. Hopefully you can see this. I hope so. I hope so. I'm not very good at the whole camera thing. Not very good when it comes to the whole camera thing, I'll be honest. There should be another power connector over here somewhere. Fan header. Hopefully so. Hopefully there's another fan header somewhere. Because if not here, in a weird spot here. Well, they're all like in the middle. Oh, that's the air one. So we can actually put this down here. Put this down here and top side. Put that there. I'll run this other wire back up the top. I think it's probably in the top side. very careful when you're pulling wires through. When you're pulling wires through, make sure you're very careful that you're not pulling them out and moving too much. So we'll put the top fans on here, and we'll cable management in a second. Just stick this down here. Just more cable management. Air pump side here. Done. Okay. We'll do cable management here in a second. We'll worry about cable management near the end, because that's kind of what we do. But we kind of get set up a little bit for cable management. Alright. Alright, everything's plugged in for fans. So now we can start doing our power supply as well. Alright, this will be a little weird, but we're gonna do it. When it comes to power supplies, this is a very ugly ketchup and mustard one, and it has all the wires connected to it. It's a non-modular power supply. Modular means some of these wires could come off and you could take them out. Actually, all the wires come out. Semi-modular means most of the wires would come out, some of them would not. But since this thing has everything on it, I'm using half it anyway. It's going to be a lot of a cable management mess, but it's kind of what budget builds do. So first off, we're going to stick in our 24 volt, or 24 pin, 24 pin connector. Sticks in the side here. Plugged into the big 24 pin on the side of the motherboard. And we're going to have our CPU wires, which hopefully is what these are. There should be CPU wires as well. So we're going to wire them. We're going to try and get these to where they're kind of tuned up a little bit better. So some power supplies will actually label what these are, and on the bottom they'll have like a CPU part on them. These don't, because this is a cheap power supply, but it is what it is. We'll lock it together. Maybe not, maybe it won't lock together. What the hell crap is this? Oh, there you go. We'll lock it together so it's one when it goes up top here. Just slide it through this hole right here. Again, cable management and end. Cable management again, this thing's hard to stick in there. Come on, you cracker. Come on. Stick it in. Make sure it clicks in the top left side of your motherboard. Check for any other CPU power ones. There's probably not any on this particular motherboard or this particular power supply. Sometimes they have more for the other 4 pin. If you don't have it, it's not that big of a deal. Alright, so next we're going to work on is we're going to stick in our PCIe connectors. PCIe connectors generally look like this. They'll have the main thing, they'll have a daisy chain thing off of it for a 2 pin. So we'll go ahead and stick that through as well. Try to untangle these wires as best we can. untangle all these other ones. So the wires we have left, we're using some of them, not all of them. So we have the SATA power and Molex power one. This is a Molex. We're not going to use this one. And we have SATA power ones, which we will use for our NZXT fan. We have some other SATA power ones. Most power supplies come with 2 SATA powers. Most of them, this actually has 2 Molexes. Some of them only come with 1. Molex isn't really that big of a thing anymore. A lot of modern components, but some components will use it. So we'll plug in our SATA power. Only goes one direction, not the band, or maybe the band. I don't know. Take our screws out, and we'll put our screws in the back side of the case once we put our power supply in. And then we'll continue working on our cable management. We'll be ready to put the power for the GPU in, and we're ready to go. Your fan, you want your fan for your power supply to be facing the vents. Some cases have a vent on top, so you can technically flip it over, it'll vent up into the case, or you can vent down into the ground. Depending on if you're gonna put it on carpet, I vent it up if you can. If you can't, just vent it down. It's fine. Especially if it's low wattage, it won't cause any performance issues, so it won't get that hot. When you put your power supply in, make sure you're not smashing the wires in. That's where you have to be careful. It's not designed very well. Shove it in, I guess. That's just what you gotta do. Alright. Just make sure that our USB. Make my USB connector on first. Put our USB connector in first. I don't even know what I can do on this side, I think. Where's the USB connector at? Well, crap. Where's the USB connector in this one? That I don't know. Right, there's one, I think. Wait, what? Huh? Where's the USB connector on this one for that? Fan. Doesn't it have a USB connector? Oh, there's one right there. Way in the middle of the motherboard. How are we gonna get to that one? How are we gonna get to that? That's not USB, is it? No. Is it? No, that's the USB connector. Where the frick is the USB connector? Where is the USB connector? Is that it? I don't know, guys. And then take the video. That's not USB either. Oh, freak. What? What the hell? What the fuck? Is this supposed to be? That's the problem. Where the hell is the USB on this one? Is that it? I don't even know. Alright, so let me see. That's fine. Alright, so good enough. We figured it out. Hope it works. That was the weirdest PC build ever. You see. Power supply screws up. With the corresponding holes. Iron power supply, corresponding holes with power supply screws. Yeah, throw all 4 in. Backside your power supply, you have all 4. Alright. Throw all 4 screws in. Make sure you're good to go. Hope you didn't see anything. I don't know if you can see anything. You kind of can. Alright. Then for cable management. Well, first, before you finish cable management, we'll make sure it boots on and powers up. If it does, then you're good to go. Well, let's put our graphics card in. Spin our PC around. Currently, we'll spin our PC around. All right, buddy, here we go. All right. Put GPU in. Sexiest part of the build. Oh. Cover out the way. And then we only need one PCI slot connector, so stick that in here like so. And our GPU screws, put those in. Put our GPU screws in. Put our GPU screws in. Power it on. Make Make sure it boots. Where did I put that? I put that box. Hold on. Good. Make sure it boots. Make sure it boots. And then we'll do cable management. This thing doesn't have any RGB, so we'll talk about the lighting on the side of it. It's red, white. If we do memory training, it should be good. Blue lights on. Wait for it to, oh, blue lights on. Everything's going through its paces. I don't know if you can see that or not. I hope so. I should be able to see these lights over here. Yeah, you can see the lights over here on the side. That's what we're looking to see. It's white, so it should be rooting into BIOS right now, so we can hook up a monitor and go through that. So we'll do that in the future video. So we'll talk about cable management for a second. So you can tie this down with a zip tie or whatever, and then we'll do the backside. We'll cable management the backside, and then in another video we'll do some testing with this particular configuration, and then we'll also do 3060 testing for modern titles for 2025, and we'll do some CPU testing for 2025. So if you enjoyed this video, I know it's kind of close up now, right? Close now. Not very good at this. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing. Leave a comment what else you want to see in the future. If you want to see more builds, budget builds, expensive builds, crazy over the top builds, RGB builds, whatever. You know, some more benchmarking, let me know. If there's something out there that you want to see that other channels maybe don't do, and you're like, oh, I want to see what this means, how this works, or explain this, and I'll try to, you know, leave it in the comments, and I'll try to, you know, get to it, and see if I can, you know, maybe shed light on it, or whatever. So yeah, until, you know, the next time. Thanks for watching.